infinity and beyond.
Hi managers, welcome to Weekly Manager Transmissions. Gonna get right into it, lots to cover. You may want to have something out to take some notes. The Manager Bible. You've all seen this, it's a big white book and it's currently perfectly up to date thanks to Brittany. So that's located up by the manager station near the bar, and this is really your go-to resource for all information regarding discounts, technology procedures, troubleshooting technology up there. It has tons of information down to little details of what is the discount, who gets it, how do we apply it in the POS, and our other actions required after that. So always use that, go to that first, find the thing in there, and then if you notice that there's a procedure or a protocol or a tech troubleshooting thing that's not in there, let myself and Brittany know so we can develop it and continue creating the Bible. Brooke's going to take some of that information and create a discount Quizlet flashcard set, so then you can test yourself on things like, do we have military? What's the military discount? Go. And with that, you'll learn, we'll have the lead servers learn, and then we'll have you and the lead servers take a quiz so that everybody can just rifle it off at a table quickly. While Stephanie's gone, I wanted to reiterate a few of the procedures that we'll be following. No employees are going to have long-term conversations about their future schedules. She's either had all of those or they'll be postponed to when she gets back. Anything dealing with switching shifts, call-outs, that type of thing, number one, they need to get coverage or arrange the switch. They need to exhaust directive methods of getting coverage. So that means they need to call, text, email, and send a message on Humanity to their coworkers to get that coverage. Step two, via Humanity, they need to start a message to the job code MODAM, which all of us have, and that will put all of us into the loop of the message. And then they just need to let us know whomever is covering or who they're completing the switch with. And then we're also letting them know that they can contact the MODs via the main Millhouse line between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's when we have phone coverage. Anytime outside of there, they cannot contact any of us on our personal cell phones. And then if they send us a Humanity message, they can send it at any time, but they shouldn't expect a response between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. Next thing, when you're scheduled as an MOD on the floor, please make sure that you are being attentive as to when the floor needs you and that you are on the floor as much as possible. So we have some managers here who work as a titled manager. These would be Scott, Stephanie, James, and even at times we've asked Terry or Toyga for help. The floor's peak hours are between 12 and 2 and 5 and 7. So it's really important that if you're going to be, stepping off of the floor during any of those times, that you've gotten permission from your coworkers, but also myself. Any time outside of there is a little bit different, and you can work that out amongst yourself as long as you're being really respectful and courteous. Sometimes on the floor it looks like the manager has it and everything's okay, but we all know that with more managers there's more eyes, which is, more support in catching mistakes before they happen and preventing them, but also more support in going the extra mile and making sure our guests have a great experience. If you do go to the office to do admin work, which we all have to do at times, keep OpenTable open and even check the point of sale or the dinerware computer that's in the office, because you can see how many tables have been sat and you can see how many tables are open. So as you see that trending up, that's your cue to hop back on the floor. Another thing you can do is to game plan ahead of time with each other. So, you know, you've got two titled managers working the floor, or maybe Toygan needs a little time to work on a wine project. Just game plan at the beginning of your shift when each of you is going to step into the office and when each of you is going to step back out to take care of things. All right, I'm going to adjust our closing schedule for managers to 3:30. So that's moving from 4 p.m. to 3:30. Given that right now we've adjusted the servers a little later and we've changed pre-shift, I think it makes sense. And it will still be the MOD mid responsibility to get making sure that the shift notes are accurate and a few of those other duties, the floor maps for the night. But when the closer gets here, they can just head straight to pre-shift, be in the know before their shift, and then go about their closing opening duties. We will revisit that around November 1st when we revisit the server in times and pre-shift time. In emergency situations, so here we're talking about malfunctions, when tech goes down, if there's a guest incident, if there's an employee incident. The best thing to do, the best practice, is to have a titled manager who's here handling that. So this is just because they've undergone a little more training or they might have been here longer. So if there's an admin titled manager, that's absolute best practice. So say James is on admin and he's in the office and a couple of you are working the floor and there's a guest incident, we might want to get, you know, like maybe somebody scraped their knee and we're waiting for security to come up, or maybe the iPads are down. We want to get someone who has experience with that and who has a little extra time out there to help us with that. And if you're working the floor, if you're especially the AM MOD or the PM MOD, we want you to continue giving full attention to the floor and making sure that that guest perception is that of there's nothing wrong happening, everything's okay. And also it avoids any wires getting crossed when employees are asking different questions to different managers about a current situation that's happening. Once you've, you know, designated, okay, Stephanie, you're the point person on this situation, let that one person be the point person to, you know, call me or to call Brittany or to handle any other situations involving that scenario. We have written a protocol for how you complete a Maui Chef's Table booking using a gift card. I'll release that on the protocol channel. Take a look at that. We are in the midst of a 6-week reprogramming of the host function at the Mill House. So today we had our first training, 2 hours long. We'll be having one every week for the next 6 weeks. And intermediate to those meetings and trainings, we will be releasing protocols and updates on the host admin channel. So definitely have close eyes on that and read those, because a good majority of them are, like I said, reprogramming or new things. After we reprogram the host stand a little bit, we're going to set our sights on busser and runner functions, hoping to have that done by Thanksgiving, and then we'll take a brief break and we will work on server and getting more in depth in that with them mid-January. Please, please, please help with OpenTable in the sense of finishing tables when they're finished, of updating statuses on them when they are bussing or paid. So particularly with finishing tables, this is a factor in the reports that we look at for table turns, and then we use those reports to make decisions on our capacities. So if we are turning tables quickly, we want to know that we're turning tables quickly, and we want to see that in the report, and then we want to act on that by decreasing our capacities and getting more tables in frequently. If we are being a little slow and lagging on that, the report will show that it might take an average of 2 hours and 15 minutes for a two-top, when we know that that's not really the case. So please pay close attention to that. I'm getting an iPad for the manager POS station, and we're going to wall mount it there. Also, we're working with OpenTable to integrate our software, Dinerware, with OpenTable, and then that will show us how long the table was sitting from the time their check opened to when their check closed. It will show us who the server was, what the amount was spent, what the tip was. So eventually we'll have a full functioning report showing everything from the guest name to how they booked their reservation, how many were in their party, who the server was, how much they spent, how much they tipped, and how long it took them from the time we rang in their order till the time that the check was closed. That's going to be incredibly valuable information for us, but so is the table turn times information based on what you see happening right then in the restaurant. So please help us with that. Update on plates and flatware I posted in Slack today. I promise it's on the way. It had already been ordered. It looks like most of it's going to be arriving between September 7th and September 14th, and then again at the end of September, and then again 2 weeks into October. One thing that we can really do to help this out is to get all of the plates and flatware back to the dish pit as fast as we can constantly. So don't rely on just the stocker to get the dish cart or the bus cart back there. Also talk to all of your bussers and get them taking the bus cart back to the dish pit so we can get all of that flatware and servingware in rotation. Also, please remind them that we stack same with same, and that helps prevent breakage. So we stack like plates with other like plates. I am addressing menu items with Taylor. I just wanted to touch on this for a second in that when we had our manager meeting and you brought a lot of food complaints and issues to my attention, I took very detailed notes on all of that. And what I do in turn, typically with it, so you have a little background on how that works, is I then go and I look at all of the customer reviews that we read, and I definitely look for all the things that are matching up, and those things go to the priority. It's not like everything just falls off the list if it wasn't mentioned by a review, but if I'm seeing a habit in reviews and I'm seeing a habit from you and I'm seeing a habit from what I hear on the floor, then those things get pushed to the top of the list. Then I sit down in a priority list with Taylor and we assess what are some possible reasons this is happening, what are some possible solutions. The reason why some things don't change so quickly, like within a day or a week, is because the solution can take a little longer. It might require getting a special chicken for the salad from a vendor, and it might require, speaking with Jeff and figuring out really what is the long-term recipe solution for something. So a lot of it has to do with sourcing or vendors or recipes, or just figuring out, do we have a moment this week to adequately train all of our staff on this change, or is that something we need to prepare them for this week and roll out the next week? So just to give you a little background on how that's all working, Taylor and I are definitely combing through that list in detail, and we're doing a lot of legwork to try and fix some of those problems that you brought up to me. We are going to have a new dessert rollout soon. Taylor and I are finalizing the date, but it looks like it will be this Friday morning. And so we will continue with the ground apple and we'll continue with the panna cotta. We will be getting rid of the other desserts and reintroducing a stout cake and an almond cake. I wanted to leave you with a final thought this week. Because it had been 2 weeks since I had incessantly quoted Danny Meyer to you, so why not do it again? This little passage is where he's talking about the importance of recognizing who is a regular, or who's a return guest or a VIP, if you will. And I love that you've all been embracing the VIP channel. It's amazing. It's been amazing for Francesco. It's been amazing for myself. And the awareness that it creates among everybody of who's really dining here and who's coming back in is really helpful to us. The way that he kind of puts it in here is that he treats his reservationists, his host, his maitre d's, he talks about them as really like the first line of defense or of activism towards, hospitality. So he's trying to get them to collect as much information as possible. So who do they work for? Have they been here before? Do they dine at our other restaurants? What do they like to eat? Where do they like to sit? There's obvious reasons why that could help us when, a guest comes in and we look and we say, welcome back, because we know that they've been here before. But there's really sophisticated, deeper levels of using customer notes. He talks about noticing on, these little tidbits that perhaps somebody worked for a publishing company, and then he notices that somebody else is a reporter. And he'll even strategically sit them together in the dining room, knowing that there's a chance that they might hit it off. And it usually works. He says this interesting passage about how when OpenTable first rolled out, he was really reticent to bring it into his restaurants because he just felt like, oh, technology, that's not what hospitality is about. Like, we can't just digitalize everything. But they were taking all of these notes handwritten anyway. So he just, as they brought in OpenTable, he embraced it. He learned how to use it. Now they use it oftentimes when OpenTable is crafting a new update or a new software. His restaurants are the first go-to that they have to figure out, what kind of things can we do better. He says, despite high-tech enhancements, restaurants will always remain a hands-on, high-touch, people-oriented business. Nothing will ever replace shaking people's hands, smiling, looking them in an eye as a genuine means of welcoming them. And that is why hospitality, unlike widgets, is not something that you can stamp out, and it's not something that you can put out on an assembly line. Its powerful impact can be taught, and teaching it with hundreds of colleagues is the best way that they found to extend the reach of that. So as we're training the host to do all these things, it's relevant. But then he goes on to say that one reality of his business growth is that he cannot be everywhere at all times. So he compensates for that fact by studying the floor maps, seeing who came in to dine, and in our case, looking at the VIP Slack channel. He says that he'll often run into somebody on the street and be able to say, I understand you were at Tabla last night. How was your dinner? People immediately feel good and are surprised that he would know this. But why wouldn't I? If I want our guests to take an interest in us, I'd better take an equal interest in them. So I hope that kind of drives home why we have that channel, and I really look forward to seeing it continue to be used. And when you make a comment about somebody dining, that you might be able to suggest also who they are, what they like, what they do for us, and in turn we can have the receptionists reincorporating that into guest notes and creating kind of a complete loop of understanding who our guests are and taking a really sincere interest in them. Thanks for having a great week with us. Killer wine sales last weekend. I'm excited to see this next weekend as well. If you have any questions, come see me. I've got a little bit of time this week. If you'd like to set up a meeting over anything, just let me know. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the best days for me. And I'll talk to you later.
To infinity and beyond.